cameras are rolling. Lock in. Um, so this is, if you're unfamiliar, this is which you probably are familiar. This is White Ambient of the very famous Mystopia core um, project. White Ambient, of course. This is I don't know their real name, but yeah. We'll talk a little bit about the new album announced. Yeah, that'll be cool. The Sad Sun Shower. And just a couple questions about, where they got their start in music and stuff. You know? All right. Are you gonna unmute? Okay.
What's up, Chads?
So it's an honor to be here, really. See, I was listening to Party Scene earlier today, and that is a really, really good song. I love that song a lot. Anyway, so my favorite question to ask people, if you were stuck on a desert island, what five albums are you choosing?
Oh shit.
Again, not necessarily your top five
Like,
albums ever, just like what are some albums that you're choosing? Just
okay, so I know you're gonna get mad at me if I say Levat, so not gonna say Levat for this very
it's
occasion.
your interview. It's your
Uh,
interview.
yeah, okay. So first of all, I take what's probably the most important album in my entire life, and that would be Nirvana's In Utero, because that was the first CD my dad ever gave me, and that's how I started like collecting CDs and shit. And overall, it's just like a fucking great album. It's like probably like I'd say the best final album to ever be made. Because it really feels like like it feels like Kurt Cobain's like goodbye from the world, and I like the part at the end of like All Apologies where Dave Grohl's now singing, because it feels like he's passing like the torch to Dave Grohl to start Foo Fighters. So just overall,
I'm SpongeBob.
I think it's a great album.
Yeah, very wise.
So
That's actually that was really good
yeah,
reasoning. That was really good.
yeah.
Anyway, still four more.
Okay, so second album, probably the I'd say like the biggest album of my childhood, but it's like my teenage years would be Smash by The Offspring, which is like a completely different thing because like you have In Euro, which is like more serious and dark, like dealing with like depression, addiction and shit. Then you have like Smash, which is like dumb shit, just generally just dumb shit,
Mhm.
like a bunch of teenagers just like writing about hating life and shit. I don't know. I just like it. I just think it has like an amazing energy. I never get bored of it. I feel like even the biggest hits, like I think like I have to listen to the rest of the album because it's just so fun.
Mhm.
Um, Next would be Kid A by Radiohead. Like
Oh,
I know it's a really like generic thing to say about Radiohead, but genuinely like when I first listened to the shit, like that shit like blew my mind. Like to start like an album with a song like Everything in Its Right Place, like especially after OK Computer, like you have like this like very important alternative rock album, and to just start with a fucking ambient track, like that shit was so fucking insane back in the day. I think that's also like what got me mostly into like stuff like because I would later get more into electronic music. I would get into shit like fucking Burial, like fucking Jamie XX, and I really want to thank that album for that, even though it's like I know it's not completely electronic, but you can definitely tell the influence was there. Uh, then I would say I know this is a very mealcore take, but In the Airplane Over the Sea,
yep.
I
It's a
just
great
genuinely
one.
think like one of the most beautiful albums ever made. It's genuinely fantastic. I love Jen Mangum, the lead singer. I think he's a great songwriter. Uh, I know the topic of the whole album can be like really weird to some people, and I understand that. I also think it's kind of weird, but like the way he writes a song, it's generally so great. I love the cryptic lyrics. I love his passionate singing. And I especially love the production because it's like it's folksy, but it has like this like a lot of fucking distortion, which was unintentional, but like makes it so much potent. Um, okay, so like for the final one,
Mm.
uh, I still don't want to say Lebat, so I'm just gonna say The Doors self-titled. I don't
Nice.
really care that much. I didn't really care that much for like old music. Like I was always like mostly like into the 90s stuff, 2000s. But I think that The Doors self-titled was like the first like pre pre all the stuff like 60s stuff that I genuinely like really loved because it's like rock, but there's like not any guitars in it at all. It's a very organ piano driven album, and I just love it. It feels so psychedelic, so weird, but still like really just a bunch of fun. And Light My Fire is like one of the greatest songs ever made.
Yeah,
So yeah, I'd say those are my 5 albums.
yeah, that's those are some great picks, honestly. Thank you for not picking Lie Bad. I would have gotten
Yeah,
I
I
would have
knew you
gotten
were
rather
that, so I did.
mad. Yeah. One moment. Okay. So where did you again? Some people kind of they don't hate the name White Ambient, but it's kind of hard to find because it keeps searching up ambient music. But where did you get the name White Ambient?
Okay, so this is either gonna like disappoint some people or they're gonna say like, oh, that's cute. So the truth is like, I didn't actually come up with it. It was like my friend. So like back in the day, I was like, you know, I was like in a religious school and shit, and I did have like only like one real friend who I talked to all the time. And back in the day, I was getting really into music. Uh, and I really wanted to start a band, but like it was still wasn't like with Ambient. I had like a different name planned. It was like fucking Sunset of Fortitude or some shit. I just generated that shit in like a fucking like random name generator online. But like yeah, I told my friend that I wanted to make a band, and since he kind of knows to play bass, I told him if he wanted to join, and I asked him like, yo, what are some cool names for a band? And out of the fucking blue, he is just like, fuck, I don't know, like fucking White Ambience or something. The original name, according to him, was White Ambience, but I swear to God that I heard White Ambient. And it was like that sounds cool as fuck. And like even back in the day, like when like years after that, when we had like we never drifted apart, but like we were like on different stuff, and that name just kind of fucking stuck to me. And then I just fucking asked him like one day, like, yo, is it okay? Would it be okay if I just like use his name? And since he's my best friend, and like we talk a lot, he was cool with it, and he told me that shit it was actually White Ambience instead of White Ambient. So yeah, that's kind of a fucking weird
Actually,
story.
that's a
Yeah,
really good story. Yeah.
yeah.
Cooler than this not Todd guy, am I right? I'm just kidding. But yeah, that was pretty good story. Yeah. Um. Okay, another one. Of course, the most original question you've ever been asked in your entire life. What are some of your major influences?
Okay, so major influences. Um, so I usually have this period where I have like my favorite band at the moment. But like if I had to pick like the ones that were the most influential, um, first of all I say like what was for the longest time my favorite band, and that was Deftones. I don't know if you can really tell by like the vocal style and the musical style and shit, but like, yeah, I really love like their mix of like heavy music with like a clean singing. They're like really the band that got me into alternative and new metal, even though I know like most of the chat doesn't consider them new metal. But like they really just have such a unique style that's both like harsh and beautiful, and that's like mostly what inspired me to write in that style of music. That's basically what I inspired myself with to make the fucking Beatles cover. No, I just love shit with like a ton of distortion, but like with clean singing and stuff. Another big influence, definitely Muse. I know better than anyone that Muse has like fallen off really badly in those last few years. Like I hate like 90% of their new stuff. But back in the day they were like so good. Generally so good. I love like the eclecticness of this style because it was like alternative rock but like with the same influences of like prog rock, like space rock. So it feels like so futuristic at the time. And even to this day I still like deeply love shit like Absolution and Origin of Symmetry and stuff. Um, this might be crazy to somebody like yeah, 21 Pilots was like probably like the first band that I really got into, and they really are like the band that got me wanting to start like a band or a musical project. Even back in the day, like I was still just a kid, but like the fucking idea that you could just like mix this bunch of genres like fucking hip hop and like reggae and stuff like I know like nowadays Blurry Faces seems like really generic and basic, and I get it, like I don't like that album anymore, but like to me that shit blew my mind, and it only like got better once I listened to Trench because that was like that's the one that introduced me to the whole idea of a concept album, like having all these songs like connected to each other, and telling like a coherent story. And that right there, that fucking blew my mind. Like I didn't know you could do that shit in music. Uh, so yeah, like even though I don't really like them that much anymore, especially fucking Clancy, but like yeah, like even back in the day, like I had to admit, like they were like probably not the most influential in my style, but definitely the band that got me like interested in this whole music shit. Um, Aside from that, like the usual like fucking the Beatles, Nirvana and stuff, but I'd say that those are like the big three, the ones that really got me into like wanting to make music and shit.
Yeah, awesome. Really cool stuff. Um, so you asked not taught this question, so I'm gonna steal it. But do you have any like special stories during like the making of any particular song?
Yeah, so like if you look at the server, like I have like a lot of stories with like each one of the songs. Okay, so like if I had to pick one, specifically one, fuck, this is hard. Like,
You can pick multiple.
mm, yeah, okay, so I'm gonna try to like keep it brief. I'd say probably like the most interesting quote unquote would be like Vane. That was the one that changed the most during the whole recording process. It had like I think like three or four title changes and then like a totally different style. Like originally Vane was going to be more like Separator, like the big penultimate track on the album. It was going to be like this something like three fourths and like it's going to be like more gothic, more waltz style. But eventually I just realized that that was kind of hard to do, and also that like since our separator was already in the album, it's gonna be like kind of samey. So like I just like I thought what would be cool to do with all that with like the con with like this idea, because the idea itself was just like about falling out, like having a crush on someone and someone not reciprocating. But then like I remember that back in school I read this book that was like the picture of Dorian Gray. And the thing I remember the most about that book was this like random ass character who was called like Sybil Vane. That's the fucking name of the song. And the thing with her is like she's not relevant in the book at all. Like she serves like a purpose to the main character because that's like his first love. And then he like stops caring about her, and then she just like kills herself drinking poison and shit. But I just felt like that shit was like so dark, so tragic. That I was like, no, it would be cool. It would be cool to just write a song about this random ass character, and just like I don't know, make it like a big ass deal. So I had the topic then, and then like I thought, what would be cool with this? And I decided to make like fucking something. I wouldn't say Depeche Mode, but just like synth pop influenced. Like 80s stuff, synth pop, a bit of trip, like very electronic because I felt like since I had done like an electronic album before this, it would be cool to like bring back the electronic influences. And so that's basically it because like I said, it was a completely different song, but then it just turned into this. Uh, and right before we continue, like I do want to talk. I just remember about like Slit. Slit was like another one that was
Oh yeah.
interesting. It was actually like way fucking darker before because like the song itself right now is just about a guy who like kills people and then he like goes in trial, and then he like plays insanity and then he's still arrested anyways. But the original fucking story was like way fucking darker because like it was based on this fucking I think I was watching like a horror YouTuber and he made like this video about like the weirdest deaths in history, and he told this story about like a guy who had a dream where he was like murdered by someone, like someone slit his throat, and then he would die in his dream. But then when he woke up with a slit throat, and he discovered that he had like cut his own throat in his sleep, and he was writing like this note to people like warning like, I fucking cut my throat in my sleep. I don't know what the fuck happened, and that was such a fucked up like bizarre story that I just wanted to write a song about it. And I was going to, but then I realized like I had like absolutely nothing to like write with this. Like it was an interesting story, but like to drag it out for like 6 minutes, I feel like no, this doesn't really work. And then like the whole thing happened with like uh Elon Musk. You remember that shit when he did the fucking Nazi salute?
Yeah,
And there was also like a bunch of people. So basically, like the whole thing with Slit is that it's kind of a protest song because there's like so many fucking people right now that are trying to use like autism as some kind of excuse to like do some fucking stupid shit. And I'm I've never been diagnosed, but I have always suspected that I'm on the spectrum, and I just kind of fucking started to accept with it, like deal with it. It just pisses me off because I have also so many friends who have like ADHD and stuff, and I just feel like it's being this kind of fucking weird stigma that like, oh, it's okay, he's autistic, so he can do that shit. Like, no, we don't just fucking do like Roman salutes and stuff like that. Like, so it's kind of like a parody of that, like the most extreme version of that, because the whole point is that the main character of Slade, like he pretends to be insane at like the climax of the song to like just get like an insanity plea and just like don't not go to jail. But in reality, like it's obviously not. It's very clearly exaggerated. It's very clearly like meant to be cringe because he doesn't fucking mean it. He's just doing that shit to like get himself like a get out of jail card. So yeah, that's basically what happened with Slit.
oh, that was really awesome. Okay, now I want to move on to a couple of questions about the Sad Sun Shower. So should we like expect something similar to Sorrow No More, or are you gonna do like a little bit of a? Are you gonna be doing
Yeah,
something
no.
different?
Yeah, right now telling you no. Like the whole thing with like this project, the from the very beginning, my purpose was to like do everything differently. Like if you hear like the first album, it sounds nothing like Serve No More, and everyone tells me so, and that was on purpose because I really don't like. It's a very like usual thing for musicians to say, but I genuinely like stand by this when I say like I don't like to do the same shit twice. I like to experiment, and not just like between albums. I like to experiment between songs. I like to have them like connected with the same topic. That's why I do like concept albums and shit. But like no, like I feel like maybe this is something I have considered recently. Like maybe if I keep going with like what ambient or at least with music, like in like I don't know, like a few decades or so, or stuff like that, I could maybe do like some kind of sequel to Sorrow No More, but like from a more mature like point of view, like not just doing a sequel for the sake of doing a sequel, but like actually like revisiting these topics with like a more like refined point of view.
Mm.
But yeah, like I was going to do another album for as a sequel, like as the follow up to Sorrow No More, but and it was like a bit similar. It was depressing, like it was a huge like concept album and shit with like a whole lore and shit. But I decided to scrap it for now. I want to do it maybe some other day, maybe after this one. But no, I specifically decided to choose like this next project specifically because it's nothing like Sorrow No More, or at least like it's not too similar. Like I wanted to I wanted to stand on its own. It's gonna be like more. I don't want to say more accessible. It's gonna be like less dark, less heavy, but it's gonna be like also like a bit like a lot more bitter, a lot more like over the top, I'd say. But yeah, I just want to make something different, just to like not bore people because I want to have people like constantly like interested and paying attention, you know?
Yeah, really cool. Um, but so there's also there's less a question and more just like a note. There's supposedly a a face reveal for the cover of Sad Sun Shower.
Yeah.
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 Um.
That's also like kind of part of the lore, I guess. So like, with Sword No More, there was this like whole like sort of fantasy type lore with like fake characters and shit, like in a bizarre kind of fucked up world. But no, I'm aiming for something more realistic in this album specifically. Like the project I had planned before, it was also going to be like with an illustrated cover art and shit. But I feel like for this album it needs to be like more down to earth, more realistic.
You're gonna be much more
And also
grounded.
like the aesthetic as a whole is gonna be like way different. Like the album cover is gonna look nothing like the album cover for Sorrow No More. The music's gonna sound nothing like Sorrow No More. But it's at the end of the day, it's just still me. Like it's still, I still hope that it's gonna be like enjoyable. People are gonna have fun, but like it's specifically designed to like be different. You know, something like
Yeah,
people can like look at its own and not compare to Sorrow No More.
yeah. It's you're entering a new era for White Ambient.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. A couple questions that I accidentally skipped. Do you remember the first song you ever created, or
Yeah. Uh, so it's actually different. Like the first song I ever wrote and the first song I ever like actually finished. The first song I ever wrote was like Nothing to Room. It was like a very like rough script, and it was without the full like the concept of the album was just like a fucking like angsty ass like teenage song about like hating life and shit. I really didn't like that version, so I actually just fucking threw the fucking the lyrics in the trash. So like it might be somewhere out there in the garbage, or
it's
maybe
White
it's just
Ambient
been
Lost
burned because it
Media?
yeah, White Ambient lost media. But no, like the first song I released like was actually like lit, like completely different version. It was in Spanish because it was like it was for like a final project for a class, an art class. So yeah, like lit was always like the centerpiece of the project specifically because it was the first song I ever released. It was like I felt like it was the song that felt more connected to that topic as a whole, with the whole idea of like death and suicide and all this dark shit. And back in the day, like people really liked it, and I did like try to continue making music, but I made it like more accessible. Like it was not me, and I really didn't like it. It's lost media, but I'm actually like really fucking glad it's lost media because it was generally fucking atrocious. And no, so yeah, then when I started recording Sorrow No More, I always knew that I want to revolve it around Lit because it was like the centerpiece of the whole album. So like I just like rescued that song. I took the lyrics and rewrote them from Spanish to English with a few minor changes. And yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah, yeah, pretty cool stuff. Damn it, I had a question. But yeah. Do we want to open the floor to some audience questions? Or does the audience have any questions?
I don't know if this was already asked when I was deafened or not, but I know that you said that you do a lot of your stuff in BandLab. Is there a reason you still are doing that and have not jumped ship to something else?
It's called being broke. Yeah.
Hmm.
The thing is, I did want to like try to crack FL Studio, but unfortunately, I have a fucking Mac, and Macs are terrible for cracking stuff. So
Hmm.
yeah, I'm just stuck with this until I either like get some money or get like a better computer. Hopefully the latter because I hate having a Mac actually.
I mean, it
Yeah,
Question.
okay, that makes
sounds
sense.
good for BandLab.
Uh, Quick question. What's your, I don't know, but like, what's your favorite song that you've made specifically? Do you have a favorite of your own, a
Yeah,
personal favorite?
I've said this before. My favorite is like Sunset Ray, but like not for any of the fucking like deepest reasons you think. Like I just really like I said before, I was in like a huge like old new metal guy, and just to make this like fucking heavy as like creepy song. I don't know. I just really had like a lot of fun making it, and yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I got my question back. Okay. So were you really making music? Because again, I've been here. You've been here longer than me. So have you been making music since before Mystopia? And like, what did that?
Yeah, I've actually started making music since the pandemic, but it was like instrumental music, and it was made in Soundtrap actually because I didn't know about Live yet. Soundtrap was fucking awful. Like you have no idea how fucking much I hate Soundtrap. That was like a terrible like place to use. But yeah, I started doing like instrumental, like I'd say like maybe experimental music. Then I made the fucking like the Spanish version of Lit for my art project, and after that I started making like pop music, quote unquote, and that was fucking terrible, and that was lost media, and I'm so fucking glad for that. And after that I just like stopped singing for a while, and I decided to make some electronic music, which is still up actually,
Mm.
and it's still available to listen to, but I am not going to send it to you because it is under my legal name, and I do not want to dox myself.
All right.
Maybe some other time when I feel like more comfortable, I will send the music to you. But like, and I'm actually really happy with some of the albums.
Hmm.
Like I'd say like one of my electronic albums is like the second best thing I've ever done, uh, after Sorrow No More. But yeah, I really it's a project that I'm really like fond of and that I had fun and then it was kind of sad to abandon. But like, yeah, no, I'm not sending it to you because it has my real name.
Maybe one day. Maybe one day we'll see that. You know.
Yeah.
But so it's still up. It's still out there. I guess if anybody's
Yeah,
dedicated
it's
enough, they
still
could.
up. I've actually sent it to like a few people in here. I'm
Uh,
not gonna name names, but like you can kind of guess who it's sent to.
yeah. But yeah. So I guess was there anybody really listening to it before? Um,
A few people, like very, very, very few people. Like I think like back in the day, like my most recent album have like max like 30, 40 streams, so it was not that big.
mhm,
It was like
yeah.
a little, and I mean like 40 streams like as a whole, not like 40 streams per song. Like it was a very fucking niche thing.
Mhm. You've come a long way. But yeah.
Yep.
Any more audience questions before we end this? I guess that's it. My apologies for having very basic questions when uh the
Don't worry, I had fun.
yeah, when the Sad Sun Shower comes out, I'll hopefully have more interesting questions for you. But yeah, thanks for letting me interview you. I had fun. It was a great time.
Thanks for the
Yeah.
review.
Yay!
Yay!